Now, how about we get another check of our weather with our chief meteorologist, Dan Cianca, in the Weather Center. Hey there, Dan.
Hey there. Love Death Valley. I'd love to get back there sometime soon and just see how things have changed. That landscape, is very arid, doesn't see a lot of water, so some water can make big changes down there.
Absolutely.
As soon as it opens, maybe we'll head down, check it out. Probably a lot of flowers next year, too. We'll have to see what
Definitely.
happens. Let's take a live look from Domenico's on the Wharf tonight. Roll that beautiful bean footage. There you go. Right now, looking at mostly clear skies in Monterey this evening. We've had a few low clouds out there. It looked like they were going to thicken up this evening, but I'm detecting some drier air in the mid-levels, which is cutting back on cloud levels. So my earlier forecast of clouds filling the bay by late this evening has not come to pass, nor will it here over the next couple hours as that dry air continues to move in. Now, eventually by tomorrow morning, we'll probably see those clouds thicken up a bit, but at the moment, they're really just kind of on the outside of the bay, and maybe it's a little patch around Carmel Bay at the moment. Otherwise, skies are pretty clear today. Now, we did see some temperature changes. The air aloft or over us warmed by about 10 degrees today. So most inland areas were quite a bit warmer, about 10 degrees warmer, in fact. On the coast, it was a little different story. This afternoon, it was warmer in Santa Cruz than yesterday, but the south side of the bay where we did have those clouds earlier was cooler. And at the moment, most coastal areas remain cooler than this time last night, whereas most inland areas, especially up in the hills, are warmer. Last night we were talking about it was like 49 degrees in some of the mountain locations. Right now we're in the 50s in the mountains, and in the valleys right now 60s for the most part, 50s to 60s. So not a bad evening out there, fairly mild, and most areas will dip into the upper 50s as we head through the overnight hours along the coast. So pretty seasonable, maybe even still slightly warm temperatures for this time of year. Overall weather pattern showing a storm system barreling through the Rockies, moving out into the plains, a weak, dry upper level low moving across Northern California at the moment. That is not going to cause any shower activity for us. And really, we're just going to remain in weak troughing here on the west coast for the next several days. There will be some smaller disturbances moving through, like this one coming through right now. One notably on Wednesday is going to switch our wind directions up a little bit. We've been in this northwesterly surface flow for the last couple of days. It's going to shift to the southwest briefly on Wednesday. So Santa Cruz side of the bay, you're going to have your cloudy day this week too, but only one, whereas the Monterey side of the bay is probably going to have 4 or 5 cloudy days this week. Ultimately, high pressure is going to build in by the weekend and warm us up. But these next couple of days, highs should be at or below normal for this time of year. Waking up tomorrow morning, we'll see patchy low clouds around the bay, perhaps into some of the valleys as well. Could see a little fog out there. I don't expect it to be super dense. We did have some reports of fog this morning. During the day tomorrow, we'll clear out on the north side of the bay, but clouds will linger on the south side. We'll get a couple of puffy cumulus clouds over the hills, but otherwise, tomorrow's cloud configuration should look pretty similar to what we had today. It's kind of interesting, although the low clouds probably a little thicker tomorrow night, especially on the north side of the bay. As for my temperature forecast, coming out of your Labor Day weekend, will be the 80s in Boulder Creek and Ben Lomond, 70s elsewhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains and on the coast, 60s to low 70s. A little bit more in the urban areas there in Santa Cruz. You'll be a little bit warmer than out on the north coast. On to the east shore of the bay, expecting highs to stay in the 60s, perhaps getting into the low 70s in Watsonville, Salinas, mid 70s to San Juan, low 80s in Hollister, and the mid 80s in the Santa Clara Valley, at least in the Gilroy area tomorrow afternoon. Over to the Monterey Peninsula and nearby areas, expecting highs in the low to mid, maybe upper 60s tomorrow, Monterey being the warm spot, mostly because the east side of town does get a little bit warmer as you do tend to get that little slice of sunshine, whereas up in New Monterey, for example, we'll see probably a high of like 65. Fisherman's Flats, almost 70 tomorrow. New Monterey, 65. It's kind of a spread across town there with that nice long east to west presence. Down south, nearest the coast, we'll see highs in the 70s. In the higher elevations in southern valleys, we'll be in the 80s, which is still perhaps just a touch cool for this time of year. So looking at that 7-day forecast, I've cooled this a little bit more on Wednesday, increased the amount of low clouds. And as I mentioned, Santa Cruz is more likely to see clouds on Wednesday than any other day this week during the afternoon. We may even see some drizzle in Santa Cruz and up into the mountains there, whereas those southwesterly winds are more likely to clear out Monterey, for example, on Wednesday afternoon. Beyond that, the northwest flow returns on Thursday to Friday, but only at breezy conditions. We'll have clearing on the north side of the bay and clouds lingering on the south side of the bay. Those clouds thinning out day by day by day as we head into the weekend, with highs returning to normal Friday and then heading above through and out of the weekend. Looking at that 7-day forecast for inland areas, also seeing temperatures bottom out on Wednesday, about 8 to 7 degrees below normal, then slowly heading back to normal by Friday and above as we head through the weekend. No rain expected in the next 7 to 10 days, although again we could see a little drizzle at the coast over the next couple. Back to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan.